So there's a story that I heard one time from Bombardier about this little black book of innovation, as I'll talk to it. So they started an idea management system, and they put forth a challenge, and lots of employees contributed ideas. Well, there was this one guy that contributed a lot of ideas, so he must be a revolutionary. And so they went by his desk as they were getting ready to start their second challenge to say, you know, hey, we're starting this challenge, and he says, and as they're talking to him, he reaches under his desk, and he starts pulling out this book, and they say, oh, well, what's that? And he said, well, every time I have an idea, I write it down in this little black book. And then when you ask things like this, you know, in terms of, you know, how we can make things better in the company, I pull out my book, and I flip through to see if I have anything that's relevant or that might apply. And so then I started to think, well, how powerful would it be if every employee in the organization had a little black book of innovation, that they had at their desk, that they wrote down little ideas about, you know, how they could make things better in the company. And as we, as managers and leaders, started to formally approach people in the organization to engage them in the innovation process after we've put the money and the time and these other things aside to support it, to ask them, and then, you know, there's this ready access of material. So another way of thinking about innovation, or what other organizations think about innovation, is Procter & Gamble looks at the tension between what's needed and what's possible. And so they talk to their customers about what's needed, and they talk to their suppliers about what's possible, to try to figure out, you know, what kind of interesting products that can we bring to the marketplace at that intersection. And as we think about, you know, going outside our organization and how we can go to other contexts and try to find innovation, one of the examples I like to use is this tire company and a food company. The tire company was looking for a new way to cut rubber more efficiently. And so they started looking around inside their organization. People are struggling, weren't getting anywhere. So then they started to look outside, and they found this IP outside of their industry in a food company for cutting cheese. Turns out rubber and cheese are both viscous materials. I have no idea what that means, but I'm not a scientist. But they were able to apply this technology from cutting cheese to cutting rubber and shortcut the process of trying to develop the technology themselves. Another simple example of a small innovation by an individual that, in this case, could have had a huge impact is a big box retailer. Sells refrigerators and many other things. Well, one of the problems with the refrigerator selling process that they were having is that as the refrigerators went out, well, a lot of them are coming back, and they were dented, and they were damaged, and they're out of the box, and these other things, and they were returned. And so they're having to take these dented refrigerators and put them on the floor to sell at a discount. So they've wasted time and effort delivering a refrigerator, and now they're wasting money by selling the refrigerator for less. And so they started to investigate, you know, well, why is this happening? And it turns out that they would get there, and the refrigerator wouldn't fit through the door, or it wouldn't fit in the space where they wanted to have the refrigerator. And so it's getting returned for that reason. And in trying to forcing it through the door or forcing it into the space, they were getting damaged. And so this one salesperson thought, well, what if we measured the key dimensions of the refrigerator and cut some pieces of string or yarn and stapled it to the receipt, and when we give it to the customer. And then when they go home, they can measure their space and make sure that it's going to fit. Well, they started doing that, and then they saw a huge drop-off in the number of returns, and they had a lot less dented refrigerators that they had to sell on the floor. So a huge win from this little simple idea of putting a couple pieces of string on the receipt. Well, that would have been a great success story, except for this chain had 1,000 stores. And that story from that one store did not get translated across all 1,000 stores. So over 99% of the potential value of this great story got lost, or at least at the time when the story was written.